compelling us to contentment. What urges us on to contentment is that it beautifies Christians. It is spiritual embroidery, setting us apart in the eyes of the world. Someone may complain bitterly, "How is it possible to be contented? The Lord has made my chain heavy. He has cast me into a very sad condition." All sin tries to hide behind a mask or vindicate itself by some excuse. The sin of discontent is particularly adept at this. We must establish that discontent is a sin, so that all apologies, pretenses, and excuses it uses to justify itself are just the makeup and the attire of a harlot. One apology discontent makes for itself is this: "I have lost a child." In Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale, Paulina was so consumed with the loss of her children, so possessed with a spirit of sadness, that she was likened to have entombed herself in her own discontent. Our love for our family should never be more than our love for God. We must be content, not only when God gives mercies, but when He takes away. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 tells us to give thanks in everything, for this is the will of God toward you in Christ Jesus. So then, we should be discontent in nothing. Perhaps God has taken away the cistern that He may give you more of the spring. Perhaps He has darkened the starlight that you may have more sunlight. God intends you to have more of Himself, and is He not better than 10 sons? Look not so much upon temporal loss as upon spiritual gain. By comparison, the comforts of the world are but sediment, yet those which come from the promise of God are pure and sweet. Your child was not given, but lent. In 1 Samuel 1:28, Hannah said that she lent her son to the Lord. She lent him? The Lord has lent him to her. Mercies are not given to us, they are lent. What someone lends, they may take back again when they please. Oh, don't be discontented that a mercy is taken away from you. Rather, be thankful that it was lent to you for so long. Suppose your child be taken from you, good or bad. If he was rebellious, you grieve for that which might have been a great burden to you. If he was devoted to God, then remember, He's taken away from the evil to come and placed in the center of eternal bliss. This lower region is vile and hurtful. How happy are those who have gone to the celestial orbs. The righteous perishes, and no man takes it to heart. Merciful men are taken away, while no one considers that the righteous is taken away from evil. Isaiah 57:1. In the original, the word translated taken away means gathered. An unbelieving child is cut off, but the believing child is gathered. Even as we see flowers gathered and preserved, so has God gathered your child as a sweet flower, that he may be preserved with glory, preserved by God forever. Why then should the Christian be discontented? Why should he weep excessively? Jesus said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, don't weep for me, weep for yourselves." Luke 23:28. In the same way, if we could hear our children speaking to us out of heaven, they would say, "Don't weep for us who are happy. We rest on a soft pillow, even in the bosom of Christ. The Prince of Peace is embracing us. Don't be troubled. We have been exalted. Don't weep for us. Weep for yourselves who are in the sinful, sorrowful world. We have come to the harbor. You are in the valley of tears, still tossing upon the waves of trouble. O Christian, don't be discontented that you have parted with such a child, but rather rejoice that you had such a child to part with. Break forth into thankfulness. What an honor it is to be a parent of such a child, that while he lives increases the joy of the angels. Luke 15:10. And when he dies, he increases the number of glorified saints. Oh, think how many mercies you still enjoy. Yet your hearts are more discontented at one loss than thankful for 100 mercies. You may object, but it was my only child, the support of my old age, the seed of my comfort. God has promised you, if you belong to Him, a name better than of sons and daughters. Isaiah 56:5. God has given you a new name. He has written your name in the book of life. This is a name which can never be cut off. Has God taken away your only child? He has given you His only Son. This is a happy exchange. The one who has Christ need not complain. He is his Father's brightness, Hebrews 1:3, his riches, Colossians 2:9, his delight, Psalm 42:1. Is there enough in Christ to delight the heart of God? And there is enough of Him to enthrall us with holy delight. He is wisdom to teach us, righteousness to acquit us, sanctification to adorn us. He is that royal and princely gift. He is the bread of angels, the joy and triumph of saints. He is all in all, Colossians 3:10. Why then are you discontented? Though your child is lost, yet you have Him for whom all things are lost. Another apology or justification discontent makes is, a great part of my estate has suddenly melted away. Sometimes God is pleased to bring His children very low and cut them short in their estate. They may now be like the widow of 2 Kings 4:2, who had nothing in her house but a pot of oil. God has taken away your estate. Indeed, this is tremendous monetary loss. But you have not lost your eternal portion. This is a sacred paradox. Honor and estate are no part of a Christian's portion. They are rather luxuries than essentials, and therefore the loss of them cannot designate a man miserable. Still, the portion remains. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I wait for Him. Lamentations 3:24. Earthly comforts are not so much to a Christian's portion. The loss of earthly comforts is like the loss of a penny from $1 million. These things shall be added to you. Matthew 6:33. Earthly comforts should be considered excess or waste. Why then should a Christian be discontented when the title to his spiritual treasure remains? The Christian has a title to the land of promise, and it will never be taken from him. Perhaps if your estate had not been lost, your soul would have been lost. Often, outward comforts quench spiritual heat. God can bestow a jewel upon us, but we fall so in love with it that we forget Him who gave it. What a pity that we should commit idolatry with the creature. Sometimes God is forced to drain away an estate. Material things are often cast overboard to save the passenger. Such an estate can be an enchantment that draws the heart away from God. But those desiring to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and many foolish and harmful desires, which plunge men into ruin and destruction. 1 Timothy 6:9. Riches are thorns. Matthew 13:7. Are you angry because God has pulled a thorn from you? Be content. If God dams up our outward comforts, it's so that the stream of our love may run faster to Him. If your estate is small, still God can bless. It's not how much money we have, but how much blessing. If you lack pleasures, yet you have the promise, I will abundantly bless your provision, Psalm 132:15. Be content. You have the dew of blessing distilled, a dinner of green herbs. Where love is sweet. I may add, where the love of God is. Another may have more estate than you, but more worry, more riches, but less rest, more revenues, but more expenses. A greater inheritance he holds more, but enjoys less. God gives a man riches, wealth, and honor so that he lacks nothing his heart desires. But God does not allow him to enjoy them. Ecclesiastes 6:2. You may have less gold than he, and perhaps less guilt. You have never thrived so much in your spiritual life. Your heart was never so low as when your condition was so low. You were never so poor in spirit, never so rich in faith. Never have you run in the ways of God's commandments so fast as when some of your golden weights were taken off. You never had such desire for heaven. This is most abundant gain. This is the best kind of merchandise. Oh, Christian, you've never had so much from the Spirit, such high tides of joy. What does it matter if you're weak in estate, if you're strong in assurance? Be content. What you have lost one way, you've gained in another. Remember, in every loss, there is only suffering, but in every discontent, there is sin. And one sin is worse than 1,000 sufferings. Because some of my income is gone, shall I part with holiness, faith, and patience? No, though I don't possess an estate, I shall possess my own spirit. O Christian, learn to be content.